I started in 2007 as a realtor, and a couple years before that as a lender, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that was
you've been through it all.
well, that was back in the day when, one day you weren't a lender and the next day you were one, so
Yeah.
it was
Or
pretty
vice
easy.
versa, right? You were a lender and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, now I am one,
Oh
so
my
so
gosh.
it was really simple back then. There just wasn't as much regulation, and but I had thought that, like, well, I really wanted to get into real estate. I had read a pile of books, and I figured, well, the best way to do it was to learn the lending side of it first. And that was it was just I just figured it was a little harder. It wasn't something I wanted to do necessarily, but I just wanted to learn it and do it. And so I did some loan transactions, and all this kind of came about from prompting from my first realtor, and then my good friend from high school in Alaska. I was born and raised in Alaska. So so
Oh,
that so he said, Harley, you should be a realtor. And I'm like, no, no, I don't want to be a realtor, and so I did. I took the plunge and started doing loans, and then got my license in 2007, and figured I had the great idea that I was going to do both at the same time. And it didn't work out so well, actually. So lesson number 6,747, just, focus is good. You can just focus on one thing.
yeah.
And so
That's
that,
huge.
yeah, it's a big deal. Sold my first house, like, literally, gosh, it had to been, like, I mean, just right before the crash. And that was in the Seattle area. And I'm like, man, and I got it, and I didn't even realize what was going on at the time. Or, just, I mean, I don't think anybody really knew the repercussions of everything. So it's quite the year. And I was at Remax at the time, and God bless them, but boy, it's $1,000 a month to be in that thing. you know, you
That's
don't you,
right.
you don't even get a business card. You got to buy those too. So
Right.
so it was
Mark was there too.
oh, really?
Yeah, he was at Remake. He almost bought a fractional percent of a office down in like Costa Rica. He was down there getting prepared,
Oh,
and
wow.
like then the crash, And I
Yep.
was appraising at the time, so I was like in another area. I mean, I saw it. I saw it coming. So I sold a couple rentals. It was gonna get. We knew it was gonna get intense, but we didn't. I don't think anybody could imagine how bad it got.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite intense. And so I got really lucky. I'm a pretty lucky guy, and I was able to sync up with and fast forward to today, still a really super good friend, one of the best salespeople I know. His name is Matt Steele in real estate, and he was kind of had a name for himself out there in my area. I was in Redmond, Washington, which is home of Microsoft, so it's super techy, all this stuff out
Yeah.
there. And he had something going on where it was a foreclosure business, and it was interesting because and he had a really great name. It was called Real Estate Investment Firm, and it was I know, right? Like,
Covers
just
it all.
covers it all. Call it as it is. And so we did. You ever seen Storage Wars? Like when they're like on the phone, they're like trying to do this and like jockeying around each other and making bids and stuff like that. I
Is
mean,
that like where they were trying to bid out the storage facilities?
yeah, yeah, like that. That's what it reminds me of. Like what this was, because in Seattle area, there's foreclosure auctions that happen every Friday, 10 a.m. Now there's four locations around, right, in the greater Seattle area, and they're all like in quadrants, and they all happen at the same time, and it is the most aggressive way to buy a property. It is 100% cash on the barrel. no take backs, no inspections, no what ifs. Pay your money right now.
Yeah,
Like,
Mark used to do those. I
oh
never did
yeah,
that, but yeah,
okay.
he did that in a Phoenix Metro.
Oh, okay,
So he
okay.
knows a bunch of those guys that had the shows and stuff. He would be down there with them. He never wanted to do a show about it, but he said, "Oh my gosh, there's so much made up on that show." Uh, like they
It,
gave the keys at the, he was said it was so crazy.
well, I tell you, it was like a little circus. I mean, the characters that came out, with all this, it's just so funny because, you're jockeying for bid position, so you can bid on these properties, and there's a guy standing there, and at the time there's hundreds of properties just being, just like, okay, 123 Main Street, any bidders? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, any bidders? It's just like that. And they're just like going through, and it's outside, right, in the elements. Um, and yeah, you have to make public bids like that. And anybody can be there and anybody can bid, and you have to show proof of your money. So we had proxy bidders, basically. What it was, where you had checks. We had cashier's checks. So every Friday morning we had a relationship with a local bank, and we'd go down and get and pull out like $1 million or something like that out of the bank, some denomination of money in different cashier checks. Okay. So that, because you have to pay for it, and you usually have to overpay because you don't know really what you're going to bid, but you overpay it, and then they'll send you the difference back, right? But but you can do it like that. So Tuesdays we would have a secrets of foreclosures seminar, and that seminar prompted, people had to come into the office, prompted people to sign up with us. They'd sign our buyer rep agreements, which, understand, none of these properties are on the MLS. They may have been on the MLS at some point, but typically they're not. And so these are all off market kind of deals. And most of the time, these properties are getting pushed, and they're getting, meaning like they may be up for foreclosure, but for whatever reason it just doesn't go, either to a bankruptcy stay or to a some other reason that they're working out with the bank, so they push it. But
Push
you
it
don't
out.
know that. You don't know that. You all you know is like, okay, this list may be going to auction this week. So that's all you know. So with this, we had an operation where we had to go through and preview all these properties. We spent the entire week like driving around, going to these properties, trying to ascertain any information that we could, because remember, it's all cash on the barrel, no take backs, so we had to try to inspect it as much as possible, and see what we could. And sometimes if it was previously listed or something, we could get into it and look at it, but a lot of times we couldn't. We could just like see the property and stuff, and then so we take notes on it, take pictures and stuff, and we had kind of an internal website, which ended up being literally thousands of properties, because they just keep gathering, right? And they just keep building and building and building. So
Right.
on Tuesdays, people would come in, sign up with us. Now understand, at this time, this is when most real estate agents are absolutely starving. Like they're fleeing the business. I mean, nobody's making any sales, right? Nobody knows what a short sale is. It's all total Wild West. I mean, it is absolute chaos. But we're getting people to come to our office and literally sign buyer rep agreements with us, like just a bunch of them, and so people would do this, and then on Thursday, that would allow them to come to the Thursday meeting, which is a very tight closed meeting just for clients, that we would then present all the deals going the next morning, right? And so it was all just this, like, okay, we would go through it. We would give our assessment of it, where we think it could sell for, where a top bid, might be, because you want to have a maximum that you can to acquire it, but you don't want to go too high. Otherwise, you'll end up losing money on it. So
Did they buy them mostly for flips or rentals
mostly
or
for flips.
themselves?
Yeah, mostly for flips. So at the time it was about 70 cents or so on the dollar to acquire it for a flip. And you and if you wanted to do a hold, you could go 80, 85 cents, which would make you more competitive, obviously, but not a lot of people were holding, especially at that time because the takeout money, meaning the long-term loan money, I mean, people can get it, but it wasn't super available.
Right.
It was just real remember all the lenders like went under,
Yeah,
right?
credit. There was a lot of credit
Just
tightening back then too. After that happened, after everybody
yeah,
went under, credit tightening for a while. I remember that. You had to have a
right.
lot of cash
A lot
to
of
then.
cash, and that was part of what we did too. So we'd have lenders that would do very specialized financing for these deals that were hard money lenders. So it's 4 points and 12%. So basically 1% per month. So your $100,000 property, you're spending $1,000 a month on it, just to acquire. It's just acquisition money plus 4 points up front. So that means like four, or 4 and 2, or some variation of that, where they'd put down money for points, and then they would, and then also pay the interest rate. And it's expensive, but it's cash, right? And so that's how we were able to just we would we'd front load this money, unless people had their own cash. If they had their own cash, great. But a lot of times they're trying to get as many properties as they can. So we would have the acquisition cash. We would have bidders that would be going out to these 4 locations with cashier's checks in the pocket, in the briefcase, and just and be, like, okay, all right, we're getting this one, all right, because most of the time, you're a working individual, you're at work during this time. You're not, it's 10 a.m. on a Friday. You have no idea. You have to be there every time. You can't be at 4 locations, nor do you know all the properties, nor have you
Right.
seen anything. So this is a lot of trust on us, right?
Right.
And even more so, like my position was, I did all the resales, right? I did a couple things, but that was my main job. It ended up being my main job, is to list the properties for sale. So everybody wanted to know what I thought. What does Harley say it's going to sell for? Like, oh, great. Okay, so let's see here. Hold on. So it's this property I've never seen before. 3, 4, 5, 6 months in the future of something I don't know what's going to be, but you want me to tell you what it's going to sell at in a very volatile market. Okay, but that was my job, and that's how they base their bid on. So I got really good really fast at doing this, because remember, we're doing this on dozens and dozens of properties, even though we probably only acquire, like, sometimes we didn't get any, sometimes we got one or two or three, or something like this in a week. So we're just bidding and bidding and bidding and bidding. And but you had to know, because you had to know where you need to put your max bid at, because you do the math backwards. So, if it's going to sell for X, you've got to subtract all this stuff out, what your costs are all going to be, including repair costs, all this, and get what we call the AVM, the after repair value of the property, and say, well, all right, based on this is where you can bid up to. Okay, so you bid up to this amount. Here, we'll front you the money, obtain the property. Then on, so Friday morning, that's when Thursday night, it was the secret meeting night, right? Like when we're all in there seeing all these properties, and you get a bid sheet, and then you as the client would write down all your properties, how much you're going to bid on it, where's your money coming from, things like that, right? And so then we take these bid sheets, like, all right, this guy is going to bid on this property for this amount, you know, and then we'd go place these bids. And if we got one, great. We'd take the crowbar, literally, and the drill, and go and drill out the lock, or, I mean, because you had to kind of break into them usually. And or, sometimes there was tenants still in there, and then we do like a cash for keys, they
Yeah.
call it, right? Like, or
Yeah.
or just help them get out of the property. So we would do that for them, help them secure it, and then we worked with contractors that would renovate them, and we just had a whole process, right? And then this is actually where my listing process, and I call it mine, but it really was one of a collective of things that came out. And eventually with Jay Kinder, Mike Reese, they I was in their coaching program, and they later had come out with what we call as NAEA,
Hmm.
National Association of Realtors, or National Association of Expert Advisors, sorry.
Right.
So
Yeah. Right.
that they had a system, that a listing system, which they took kind of best practices of agents across the nation, and a lot of this it was the same, really similar to what we did, where as a professional investor and flipper, how you're going to prepare the property for sale, because selling a house is all like painting. It's all in the prep work, right? I mean, anybody can put on that final coat, but it's really has to do with the prep work.
Yeah.
So we just make sure it was tight and right, everything was up to snuff, the best choices were made, it was inspected, it was staged, it was beautifully photographed,
Nice.
everything was primo, and then sell it like that. And so
Nice.
that's what we did, and then we just keep them going. So that's what I was doing during the crash anyway.
How many of those do you think you did before it kind of settled out?
Boy, I don't even know. I'd have to look back on the numbers, but it we did that for oh for a while. See or two, eight, I guess a year or so, 2 years maybe. And then I broke away and started my own firm in 2010. I was able to get my remember I was licensed in '07, but then by 10 I was able to get my they call it designated broker license in Washington,
Uh-huh.
where you can actually start your own firm. And so I started Exclusive Home Realty, and with and brought on a couple partners, and we launched a whole just a whole basically it was a brokerage team, so to speak. It was a team of people. We were very marketing driven. We worked really heavily with NAEA and Jay and Mike and those guys to really level that up. Had some pretty explosive growth. Did some cool stuff, marketing wise on the radio. Got a was in. Have you ever heard of Radio and Television Experts?
Mm-mm.
No, so that was a national. It's still going on. It's a really good group. They help you get on the radio. They help you get on like TV spots if you want to. Like I had one commercial with Barbara Corcoran, and it was myself and my
Nice.
partner Chris, and then we had a silent partner, Brett Moreland, and it was really a lot of fun, and we had amazing group of people, just simply amazing. The transaction coordinator, Sarah Jean, she was just top notch, just never let anything through the cracks, right? It was all
Nice.
just seamless. Had an amazing ISA, and this was back when kind of ISAs were sort of newish, like not, it wasn't really done that much, I think. And so Susan Yerbeck was a ISA for me, and it was interesting. She came out from have you ever heard of Jerry's Kids?
Yeah.
The yeah, the charity.
Yeah.
She called me one day. Chris and I are sitting in our little office, just started up Exclusive, right? And we're just sitting in there, and we're like, man, we're getting a lot of leads because we had a really good lead flow coming in. So 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 we're sitting there, we're like, man, we really need to have like somebody call these and like set up appointments for us. This is getting so many. And so Susan had called me from Jerry's Kids, and I don't know if you know the little deal they have. They'll come and arrest you. They'll have the fire department come into your office and put you in handcuffs in front of everybody and take
Oh
you
no, I
out. And
didn't
then
know that. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
it's really funny. And so then they tell everybody, oh, there's a bail, and there's like you have to raise all this money to post bail, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's like this thing.
That's
And so
that's funny.
so she was trying to pitch me on this to do this, and she was just really good on the phone. She was amazing. And
Because then they'd put that on, like they didn't have social media explode at that time, so they probably put it on TV, right, on the local channel.
probably, they would just, you'd promote it, and it was just kind of a funsy thing
Yeah.
to do, right, for the office. And she was so good on the phone. We had connected, and I said, hey, if you want to talk about, doing this in a real estate capacity, I can show you how to really make a lot more money. And I think the figure was like, oh, I'm gonna say like 60,000 a year or something like that, you can make, or 60, 70,000 a year or something. And she was like, later on she had said, oh yeah, just another man telling me what I want to hear, or something like this, and but she went along with it, and she ended up uh working for us for quite a while, and just an absolute ninja assassin on the phone. I mean, just crazy good. And
That's
so she,
awesome.
yeah, just amazing. And she set no less than 100 appointments a month. That was her
Wow.
that was her that was her
Wow.
thing.
And well, so where'd you get the list though? Where'd you get the list of people?
Well, so we did a this actually came from Matt. He had kind of uh done this, and we had developed it after a while. Was a system is called a permission to market system. And Matt had turned me on to this previously, and it just been something I had done sort of manually. And I've had more than one assistant like leave crying and pulling her hair out because it was so it was just like there was like a binder and stuff, and they had to like go through everything and do it all. I mean, it
Yeah.
was intense, what they had to do. So
Yeah.
we would come to you as an agent and say, hey, do I have permission to market your listing and get some buyers for it? And then
Mm.
you just have to give me um a written, yes to it,
How did you market?
well, so we would put them on, at the time we put them on Craigslist.
Hmm.
And so and so it was, Craigslist was sort of, um uh, I wouldn't say in the infancy, but it was it was starting to get really popular, and
Yeah.
people would post properties on Craigslist.
Hmm.
And so it was interesting because we just started to do a lot of it, right? We would I think there was somewhere around, oh, I'm gonna say 1,000 a day in my area that were being posted, and I was
Wow.
and I was posting. I would own anywhere from like 10% of it, or we would, being that we were just posting so much. So we were getting a lot of traffic from it and a lot of call-ins.
Yeah.
And
That's
Susan was
amazing.
just, yeah, it was amazing. And Susan was just so great at it. She taught us a lot of stuff too, because she's just like, oh, she would just call you up and be like, oh yeah, hey, I saw you're looking at 123 Main Street. Do you want to go see it? And that was it's pretty much it. I mean, she was like
That's awesome.
straight to it. And they're like, oh, well, sure, and then we had a team of agents. And so she would just like the agents that were in our group, um, they literally just worked by appointment. That's what they got. They just got appointment after appointment after appointment, and they would go to them, and we would have a whole process for them to sign people up, and how they met with them. And that's really that whole process was how that worked. And the agents were great. And we had a main assistant to Julia. She was awesome. She always just filled in the gaps and helped everybody out. And so it was really just a testament to, like, if somebody's building a team or doing something like that. I mean, you got to have the right people in the right places, and you got to
Yes.
surround yourself with the right people. I mean, I believe that's very true. Is like who you surround yourself with matters.
Yes.
And so
And
that's a
this is
big
huge
deal.
because she wasn't afraid to pick up the phone. This is somebody that
Oh
just
God,
wasn't
no.
afraid of it. And how powerful is that? I mean, here Ricky Caruth, he gets on YouTube and does it, right?
Ye-
To show how easy, how much it matters if you pick up the phone, right? But a lot of people won't do it.
Yeah, yeah, and she did too. She made a berserk amount of phone calls just all the time, just connecting with people, and it was really amazing. And she was super aggressive. There's no question, that she was very aggressive about it, and that really helped though, because at that stage, you really need somebody that's going to be, not only on it but super aggressive to be able to get people to kind of comply and get them to meet and put the two together. So it's good.
They're fortunate if they have a team like that that really cares for the ultimate goal. Isn't It's like you
Yep.
weren't at the ultimate goal of milking them for money. You were the ultimate goal was to get a deal quickly for your client and get it moving so you go on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah, we did pretty good with it too. I mean, it was um it was great. We had we had a well-oiled machine, so to speak, right? Like, kind of everything, third gene handling stuff in the back end, Susan in the front end of it. My partner Chris was doing all the operational stuff, and Julia was doing all the mid work assistant work and whatnot for people. And then the agents were just, they were stellar too. They, and most of the people on my team is no longer around, but they went on to be just hyper successful. I'm
Yeah,
really
I can
proud of them all.
imagine.
It's
Yeah,
amazing. And it looks good on paper. It's the the spreadsheet model. It seems like, oh, you can really do this and get rich doing that, but it is it's definitely about the people and the connection. And I think even more so today, where folks, back, when I was doing that at the time, there's no automations or anything like that going on, and
right,
people would assume that, like, okay, this is a real human being here, or not somebody overseas maybe, or something, because now they even have they'll have AI call too.
right.
And but there's that, and then overseas stuff, not taking away from overseas callers. They're great
Sure.
too. A lot of
Right.
them
Just
are
the right
amazing.
one.
But it's very pertinent. You have to take, you have to find that right fit that's going to really make it happen for you.
I really want to get your take on what's happening now because things are kind of flipped around. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark and
Yeah.
I combined, we've done over 50 fix and flips.
Okay.
And
Okay, good.
I believe at the time, since it was harder to get money, we would have kept more rentals probably.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. If you're going to fix and flip, fix two, keep one, fix two, keep one. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Sure.
It just to build your rental, portfolio.
Right.
Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really great method. I mean, when we think about it, the product that we broker or sell, and being a broker or an agent is not really, or brokering business is not really much different than a wholesaler when you think about it. And that's one level, right? But then the next level would be that, like, okay, now I can flip property, and I feel like even a next level is like, now I can, acquire property. And we use, what we call, a common method is the Burr method,
Yeah.
when you're buying, rehabbing, refinancing, and renting it out. that's
Yeah.
a that's a tried and true method to acquire and keep property, and then that's how you can build real wealth
Yes.
too.
And that's what everybody's learning to do now in big groups.
Right.
And they pay big bucks for it too.
Yeah, yeah, they do. And it's a real thing. You really can do it. You have to pick the right areas, and you have to know, what you're doing, and probably take a few lumps in the process, but it's
Exactly. Exactly. It's not everyone's going to be a winner. Not everyone was for us either. But and I think that's why I love AI. I love AI, and that's how I met you, right?
yeah.
That I love that program. It was very affordable. It worked for me. I'm utilizing it now. But you can't depend on you can't depend on just algorithms. You can't. I'm just one of those people that, because of my appraisal background, I probably analyze the heck out of things too much. And
Sure.
Mark sometimes says, you gotta quit over analyzing this one. And he's right. He's right. But sometimes I do, because I did appraise, I reviewed appraisals through the whole recession. Like, I
Oh,
was an
okay.
appraiser before. And so, I mean, I saw things go like so south, and people depending on such just random information for what they were doing. And actually, a lot of people ended up going real crooked. We had straw buyers. They were trying to keep a condominium project going upward. So they'd have so-and-so, a neighbor, buy in, or, partner buy one that was overpriced so they could keep it going. And here you had similar condo project down the road that wasn't doing that. And you could show them proof of the comps that, hey, why didn't you, appraiser, use these? And this is when a lot of appraisers could be influenced. They were talking to, loan officers. They didn't want to lose their relationship. I lost a lot of relationships with loan officers because I wanted to sleep at night. And so I kept my license. But I know a lot of people that lost their license. And I think there's so many newer agents now that don't really know the impact of when things do go south, what you have to be careful for. I'm all about, being prepared the right way with the right people, like ethical people like you that have been in the business a long time, the right team, ethical lenders, people that are going to show you the right way to do things, not just want to take your money, a bunch of money from you, and tell you what to do, and you're on your own, and tell you to go put a bunch of signs on the street, just like it's going to be easy, fast money, or become a landlord like it's going to be easy, fast money. You have to be really careful. I mean, so we have, I've got people that I've made, they can retire now because they did a purchase, they did the BRRRR, and then they moved on to the next one and rented that one out. They've got 9 homes now that at the right time they could refinance all of them. And now they're just making so much money, and they don't have to worry about renting out over, you know what I mean? They can lower the rent if they have to and still come out with a positive cash flow. So they did it the right way, really right, by utilizing team, going nice and strategically, and like you say, just really analyzing the deal to make sure that it's going to work.
There's a lot of ways to skin the cat, so to speak, on this stuff, and sometimes you can even do lease optioning and get into that as well with some of this as kind of a slow flip. That's another method of doing it I've seen that is advantageous sometimes from a tax perspective, as far as not, if you've held a property for a certain period of time, you can limit how much tax you're going to end up paying on it.
Right.
So that, from a sale versus your traditional flip where you're just flipping it as fast as you can after the acquisition. So there's some of that too. And you can capitalize on some of those ideas doing the rental as well, in building equity that way.
Yeah.
And if you do the numbers right on it, it really makes a lot of sense. And I would just say that, if one is considering this, do your analysis on what you feel is a good rate of return for yourself, and just have that as a minimum, and that's your requirement, that, hey, I need to have this kind of rate of return, but also be flexible, have different, exits from the property, and be aware that you can do it like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you will look at all options. That's super important for your clients. I think I'm gonna have to break this up into two different
Yeah, no
because
problem. Yeah.
the first one was just super good about, you know, that past history and what you had to do and the knowledge in investing. And then this about virtual listings and why you know, it's such a strong thing for if you're thinking about EXP Realty and thinking about the things they have like offer Curbio and that
Right.
the system that you have for the virtual listing that way and utilizing them. I think that's super interesting. So give your contact information again.
You can reach me on email or you can reach me on social. Okay. And you can find me at Harley Dufek on social media. And you can also reach me on email at Harley, HARLEY, at harleyhomegroup.com. Or my phone number is 571 249 5449.
449. Thank you so much, Harley. This was just like so informational. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this. So I will post this.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, that's awesome. So all right, you guys, we'll see you next time.